Welcome everybody to another edition of Sports Clash Radio. I'm your host Chad Martin along with JC Martin. We're talking pro wrestling. One of the loves that we have is talking wrestling, and there's a lot of things to talk about. Really, and this is for the week of October 17 and 18, so we just come off RAW and Smackdown. We're about 2 weeks out from Hell in a Cell, a little less than 2 weeks actually, and only actually a month away from Survivor Series. So a lot of wrestling coming up, a lot of good stuff, and a lot of things are happening. We're not going to go match by match and talk about all the matches because honestly this week a lot of that crap bored the mess out of me. It just bored the piss out of me, to be honest with you. I was not a fan of a lot of went down. We're going to rate RAW and SmackDown, but let's talk about, because you got Goldberg is back. He made what I would consider a triumphant return to RAW Monday night. You had James Ellsworth, of all people, main evented SmackDown with AJ Styles
for the second week in a row.
Yeah, in a championship match. Charlotte and Sasha Banks, they are going to headline Hell in a Cell in a Hell in a Cell match.
Which I did read earlier that Mick Foley's kind of backtracked off of that.
Oh, really?
Right. Now it's saying it's undetermined, it's undecided.
So that means WWE Creative is deciding, wait, do we really want to put the women's match as the main event?
They should.
Those girls right there, I think they could really rock that match. I'm excited to see it. I hope they do.
I think what it's going to end up being is they don't want to sell their Universal Championship short.
Yeah.
Since it's a new title and they're really trying to form it, give it some run with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins maybe there in the cell in the main event. But I agree though. I do think that if anyone could do it, then, or as far as any two women in the company could headline Hell in a Cell inside of Hell in a Cell, yeah, Sasha and Charlotte, absolutely.
Right. So what would you say, Raw versus SmackDown this week? Who do you think had the better show?
I think SmackDown had the better show. Granted, the one thing I've griped about on this podcast for a while now, since the brand split really, has been that SmackDown only has about 3 matches in a 2-hour show. Whereas Raw has, they can have 5, 6, 7 shows, or 5, 6, 7 matches in a 3-hour show. But I think the quality of promos have been better on SmackDown. Actually, Carmella and Nikki had some promos that I thought were actually pretty solid. Yeah,
I wasn't excited until I started watching it and listening to them. It's not that bad.
Right, and then you hear Natalia's promo with Daniel Bryan in the back. Actually wasn't bad.
I actually enjoyed that.
She plugged her cat's Instagram, but the way it was done was entertaining. And then the SmackDown main event, as we talked about 2 weeks in a row, it's been AJ Styles versus James Ellsworth. Of course, with Dean Ambrose involved. Last week, Dean Ambrose was special guest referee. Yeah. This week, he was special guest ring announcer / timekeeper. But it didn't matter that, some indie guy and James Ellsworth was in the match. And I say some indie guy, and that's not to detract from indie wrestlers, guys like Roderick Strong, who is now signed with WWE, or guys like AJ Styles was once at a time, or Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian.
But your indie guys don't normally main events.
He looks like a trash bag wrestler. That's what he is. James Ellsworth is a trash bag wrestler.
And we're going to talk about James Ellsworth and some of the things that were said during that match and how the match was pulled off.
But that, to me, that's what made SmackDown better because, Raw had Rollins versus Jericho.
Yep.
Which is always a good match.
Oh,
it's always.
It was.
You have 2 phenomenal workers. Chris Jericho is one of the greatest of all time. He's the surefire Hall of Famer, and I have no doubt in my mind that when it's all said and done on the career of Seth Rollins, he'll be in the Hall of Fame as well.
Oh, yeah. Nice long career, too.
By and large, if people don't understand it by now, wrestling is entertainment.
Yep.
There's a reason they call it sports entertainment. It's athleticism, but at the end of the day, it's not an actual fight. It's not this actual competition. Granted, if you have 2 people that are unprofessional, it can turn into a fight. But as a whole product, it's not that. But man, that's the fact that it is campy at times. It's a reason why we love it. But it also made for a hell of an entertaining main event for SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really bored with Raw this week. It was just that 3 hours felt like 3 hours.
Right.
It just dragged. Outside of really the Rollins-Jericho match, I mean, there was nothing else that was so very exciting to me. Because I thought, this whole Cruiserweight thing, I was really, why those guys aren't getting pushed more on Raw, I don't know. They should have had they should have had a couple of matches on there that were just high impact to break up the monotony of what was just, to me, just so boring.
I understand having the 6-man tag for the Cruiserweights, just because you brought in 32 Cruiserweights for the tournament. You want to get the guys that you have signed to a contract, you want to give them some exposure, so a 6-man tag makes sense logistically. And my favorite Cruiserweight is Rich Swann, so I was happy to see him on TV again this week. But, because to me, he's the total package for the Cruiserweights, because he can do the high-flying stuff, he can do the mat wrestling stuff, but he's also got charisma.
Yeah, I just think you're not doing those guys a favor by not giving them more match time, because that's what your Cruiserweights really are for.
That's what they need. They need to have that match time. They need to if the 6-man tag's fine, but give that 6-man tag 10 minutes.
Exactly. Let those guys go and show what they can do and entertain the crowd, because you got way too many other things where you're not. I thought having Cass and Anderson go that short
they went 2 minutes, minute and a half.
Yeah, why are you don't do those things?
I don't have a problem with Cass going over on Carl Anderson, but you're not doing, we've talked about this for a few weeks now, they are just dropping the ball with the club. Gallows and Anderson are big dudes, they're bad dudes, they can go out there and just straight beat people up. There's no reason that you should have them job out to 2 guys, or to a singular guy in this instance, but you think of Cass and Enzo as a whole, you think of the club as a unit, as a whole. But, Cass and Enzo really haven't won anything in a minute. I mean, they won some tag matches against the Shining Stars, but at the end of the day, that's the Shining Stars, and no one cares about them.
But and that's kind of my thing, too. And creative will tell you, or the WWE will tell you, well, it's not really going to hurt them, maybe not from creative's eyes, but from a fan's viewpoint. That's like saying the championships don't matter. To the fans, they do matter. It may not matter to you. And if you don't think those championship belts mean something to the guys who are working for those belts, then you're wrong, because what that means is the company has enough faith in you to hold that title, to be the face of the company and the face for that championship belt. So yeah, they do mean something, and these wins and losses, they mean something when you're in the entertainment business and you're in the storytelling business, because that's what wrestling is. It's about story. It's about creating this atmosphere and bringing your fandom into that, because it's not just a one-off every week. You're creating storylines for fans. So you can't insult their intelligence at the same time and go, oh, it's 20-second match. How am I supposed to take you believably? And that's where I think they've dropped the ball on Gallows and Anderson. I mean, stop. They're one of the baddest tag teams out there. They proved that in New Japan. So stop this stuff. I mean, book them to be that way and stop. You got a 3-hour show. For God's sakes, you have a 3-hour show every single week. You can give these teams more than 5 minutes to go out there and do these things.
If you're going to have 6 matches, 5 of those matches can be 10 minutes. And then,
exactly.
And then you can have a 6th match that goes 15 to 20.
That's right.
And you still have plenty of time for promos. They don't have to go out there and be 20-minute monologues.
I'm so tired of opening Raw with a 15-minute promo every single week. That's.
But going back to bad booking, we're talking about this squash match between Cass and Carl Anderson.
Yeah.
Well, then you have on SmackDown, conversely, the opposite of this, because Cass is interesting, Carl Anderson is interesting. Now, you have completely uninteresting matches, Baron Corbin versus Jack Swagger. So, you have the match, it is what it is, it doesn't matter because no one cares about either of these guys. But then Baron Corbin cuts a promo bragging about how he beat Jack Swagger. Like, we care about Jack Swagger.
Poor Jack hasn't won anything in a long, long time.
Right,
And it's no fault of Swagger's, but they book him to lose. And so if you're going to book somebody to lose constantly, then you
can't have someone brag about it.
He's not a believable threat to anybody because you book him to lose all the time. And that is booking and creative's fault right there to do that. And then again,
I think partially some of it's Jack Swagger's fault for having the personality of a black hole.
Well, that too. But the whole point is, I'm talking about putting him with Corbin and trying to make that a big thing.
Right.
You're insulting the intelligence of the fans again. They're not brain dead out there. And I know you like to think that at times, but they're not. They're just not. Fans are smart. They know what they want to see. Even if, and that's not saying you have to give the fans every single thing they want, because you need to keep them guessing. But keep them guessing in a smart way and not an ignorant way where you're going, why am I watching this? You want to know why your ratings are down? It's because of garbage like that.
Right.
You keep doing that stuff, it's not exciting.
And they do so much that insults their fans' intelligence. It's like the whole idea of, well, what are they going to do with Goldberg? Or, is Goldberg actually going to come back? Why else the hell would he fly from Atlanta, Georgia to Denver, Colorado?
Exactly.
I mean, he announced it the week before. Well, I'm coming to address what Paul Heyman had to say next week on Raw. Well, great. You just let us know that this is a done deal. Like, at some point in the future, we are going to see Lesnar versus Goldberg round 2.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I get it. You're trying to advertise to take some more Monday Night Football's viewership, you hope, and to get people in there on that final hour and whatnot. But come on, we need a little suspense and drama, and that's what makes wrestling. And the humor, like you were talking about with the AJ Styles and James Ellsworth thing. I mean, there were a lot of people that were crapping on that, saying it just hurts the business. No, it doesn't. That is the wrestling business. That's what the wrestling business is.
It's not like James Ellsworth was booked as a legitimate threat to AJ Styles.
Very smart the way they did it.
It was all Dean Ambrose playing mind games with AJ to get AJ rattled to be put into a position for Ellsworth to beat him. I mean, hell, last week it was just because Dean Ambrose straight up hit AJ Styles with 2 Dirty Deeds DDTs.
Yeah.
And just put James Ellsworth's lifeless body on top of AJ Styles.
So it was nothing Ellsworth did. But let's talk about Goldberg real quick. He comes back at the end of the night, does his promo. We're all curious as to what's going to happen. I readily admit that's why I tuned in. I wanted to see what we were going to get with Goldberg. And I have to say, they did it so well. The only part I didn't like was the very beginning of his intro when he was walking down the long hallway and you got all the people in the back clapping and stuff. Because that was kind of strange. Because you have Big E back there just going crazy. And
you had the whole New Day back there going crazy.
But I mean, it was. I thought you could have done without that. But once he got
it was
past
entertaining
all that,
for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Like there's moments in wrestling that can be comical, like what they did with Ellsworth and Styles. Yeah. Like that was fine for the comedy. When you have New Day coming out there on the microphone, that's their trash talk style.
Yes.
Is being comical about it. But when a man who has always been incredibly serious his whole career, and that's what he was known for, is just a big bald badass.
Yep.
The triple B there. But when he's coming down that hallway and then you see all these guys, there's guys smiling super big and they're doing the slow clap. New Day is cutting up on top of the carts. It's entertaining for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it's taken away from what that moment's supposed to be. But once he cleared all that and he started making his entrance, I thought it was from there on. It was solid. It was great. This pyro was nice. I thought it was going to melt and die in the middle of all that.
Props to Bill Goldberg for getting blasted in the face with fireworks for about 45 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. But he came down there, and I was really curious when he started talking what was going to happen. But the reaction from the crowd was awesome.
Now, speaking of the crowd, as he made his way to the ring, he was stopping to these little kids, which is an ultimate white meat babyface move. Yep. Go play with the kids, celebrate with them, make the kids feel involved because, a lot of this business is catered towards children. It's a younger demographic. But Bill was going out there and picking up kids and kissing kids and slapping the kids' hands. I was like, Bill, well, one thing, this is 2016 and you can't just go around picking up strangers' kids now.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. But you also have to keep in mind that these children don't know who you are.
Yeah, really.
Like, you haven't wrestled in 12 years. That's before some of these kids that you're messing with out there were even born.
Yeah. But again, it did get over. It got over with those kids. They're like, a superstar touched them, even if they didn't know who he was. I mean, so he gets in the ring, and the cheers are just keep going on and on. And he's a little broken up there for when he had to regain his composure, which was awesome. I love seeing those moments, and you can tell when it really means something to people who you were really on the fence whether it really meant something to or not. But in that moment, you could tell it really meant something to Bill Goldberg to be there and to have people remember. Even said it. I can't believe you remembered. And it was great. That moment was great. And then he opened his mouth and started talking, and I thought he was on point from what he had to say. That fire was back, and I thought he sold the match real well. And his last line was perfect. answering the question of Brock Lesnar, you're next, but not only that, you're last. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Drop the mic. Fans are going crazy. They're chanting Goldberg. It was great. And I've never been a big Goldberg fan.
I've never been a Goldberg fan.
I mean,
period. And I crapped on him last week when we did this.
Yeah, but when you see it, and you saw it out there, and I've read a lot of things, and people are kind of universally praising everything that went on right there and how he handled himself and how he did, because it could have gone either way. Right. And I thought he did a phenomenal job. Now I'm kind of curious to see what happens with this whole thing and see him and Brock go at it. You kind of know what you're going to get in the match, I think, anyway. But it's just his excitement about being back and the fans' reaction kind of got me excited about seeing, okay, because they're probably going to headline Survivor Series.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sell more subscriptions to the WWE Network.
Yep.
It's going to sell more tickets for Survivor Series. But at the end of the day, there's no way in hell that Brock Lesnar loses to Goldberg.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I can't wait to see the booking in the next 4 weeks.
Because Brock's going to keep this going, and like Goldberg said, Lesnar's last. So either this is Brock's last match or it's his last feud.
And
Goldberg's last match or his last feud.
And WWE has a history lately of crapping on legends anyway. We saw that with Sting, really, as far as...
And part of that was Sting's body breaking down on him.
I'm not saying as far as that goes, but like with the WrestleMania match with Triple H, because back then Triple H really wasn't involved in anything big as far on wrestling side of it. So I thought that was
where they 10 really years younger.
I get that, but that's never stopped WWE before, like when Hogan. I mean, and that was Triple H was even younger then. They put Hogan over for that.
Yeah, or the Hogan Michaels bit where Michaels hated Hogan so much by that point that he was just bumping around like a fish out of water, which was hilarious.
So I think, so that's what I guess what I'm saying right there is I thought they dropped the ball with Sting. And no one expected that to be his last match when he did with Rollins and got the neck injury. I understand that. But sometimes when you have a moment, you've got to go with the moment and really do something special with it. But I think we could see something like that out of Bill Goldberg and the Lesnar thing. I don't think so, because I think they're still going to save somebody beating Lesnar for one of these other guys to do.
You're not going to have a 50-year-old man beat Brock Lesnar.
But again, at this point, we don't know how long Lesnar's going to be back in the WWE either. So,
but I don't care.
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't care about Brock Lesnar.
That may be why you could see Bill Goldberg go over. So who knows? Right. That's going to be the mystery coming up to this event.
Like whenever it's announced finally that Brock Lesnar's done accepting money from the WWE, because that's what it is.
Yes.
WWE throws money at Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar says, "Hey, I'll take that money. I'm only working 4, 5, 6 times a year, but as long as you keep giving me millions of dollars, I'll keep taking it.
I can buy more."
But when Brock finally decides that he's done with pro wrestling, I literally will not care.
Yeah.
Because he appears so rarely. To me, it's not, like Undertaker being a novelty is one thing because Undertaker's a legend in the business. I watched Undertaker bust his ass every night for 20 years, and then he disappeared and does the one-off WrestleManias. I get that.
But even his matches are different.
Right.
Whoever he's working with are different. Brock's is the exact same thing. And I'm burnt out on Suplex City. I'll be honest with you. It's not even a big deal. It was cool there for a little bit until you realize this is going to be every freaking match he has, and there's nothing new here, nothing interesting.
All of a sudden, Brock Lesnar match has become the WWE equivalent of NASCAR. In NASCAR, it's another left turn. In a Brock Lesnar match, it's another German suplex.
Every single time. So about Charlotte and Sasha main eventing a pay-per-view. Now, we touched on that a little bit, so who knows what's going to happen. It sounds like they're trying to back out there because I hadn't heard that until you mentioned it. So I would love to see it. I think it because that's not going to be a letdown match. That women's title is still a title. It's your main women's title, and I think that's the way they should go with that.
And I want to see Charlotte, selfishly, I want to see Charlotte hit a moonsault off the top of the cell, which I know is incredibly dangerous and could end horribly for either one, if not both of them.
Yeah.
But man, if
awesome.
She nails it, that would be a sight to see.
It would be that instant legend status right there. If she does that.
That's another thing. I've been so impressed with not only the wrestling ability of Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky Lynch, but their mic skills as well.
Oh yeah,
I think their time spent in NXT, and I think that speaks volumes to what Triple H is doing down there with NXT. The coaches that he has in place. Of course, Dusty Rhodes was so instrumental in their development of these three women.
Exactly.
And their ability to develop a promo and their mic skills. But man, it paid off because Charlotte and Sasha are crushing it.
They are selling their stuff, their matches with verbally, and I think that is so important because that is honestly the biggest thing in wrestling. If you want to be a superstar, you need to learn how to talk. I mean, wrestlers have made careers out of just doing that. Hogan, Austin, Cena. I mean, a lot of those guys who their biggest asset is the ability to talk and bring a crowd in verbally to everything else that they're doing. Hulk has flat out admitted, he had only 3 or 4 moves. That was it. But it's how he did them and his charisma and being able to talk. That brings a person in. That brings an audience member in. When you include the audience in something, that's it.
Right.
You got them.
And you talk about being able to talk and only having a few moves. That was the knock on Cena forever. He's got the 5 moves of doom or whatever. But over the last few years, Cena's actually evolved that, and he's actually become a pretty good wrestler.
That's why I've really become a fan of Cena, is because he has. I mean, when he was doing the
I just don't like that his character's a white meat babyface.
Well,
give me some kind of authenticity.
Yeah, he's a throwback to the '80s. But when he was doing all the challenges every week and doing that, some of the best matches.
The matches with Cesaro, with Kevin Owens, with Rusev. I mean, they were great.
And so props off to John Cena. James Ellsworth, that brings us to him finally. We have talked about him in a few segments in here, but this dude with the no chin, oh my God, I'm telling you, and I'm going to pop this picture on the screen. It took me forever to figure out what he reminded me of, and this right here is it. That is Sid from the Ice Age movie, Sid the Sloth. It had been bugging me, and then we were watching SmackDown last night. Oh my God. And it just popped in there. It's like, that's who he is. I mean, and so I photoshopped that image you see, and it's, man, good Lord. But I will say this for James Ellsworth. It must be a very exciting time for that young man.
Absolutely.
To get to do all of these things he's getting to do in a position somebody like him should probably never have.
They literally brought him in originally to be squashed by Braun Strowman on Raw.
Exactly.
And that's what happened. But, he cut this borderline heartfelt promo, But, that's what you were talking about earlier. Mic skills. Granted, Ellsworth aren't polished by any means, but he said enough in just the right way, and he looks so damn goofy that as a culmination, it works, and it caught people's attention, and of course the memes blew up over Instagram or in Twitter, and then it kind of parlayed into the second chances where, hey, we'll bring you in, let you work with AJ Styles. Then of course Miz attacks him because Ellsworth was supposed to be AJ's partner.
Yeah.
Miz attacks him. I was like, all right, well, that was a cute idea to bring Ellsworth in. But man, the fans popped so hard when Ellsworth first came out there that then they bring him back again to actually work AJ in the main event.
Which was hilarious.
It's so well received that boom, they bring him. They go ahead and decide, hey, we're going to bring him back again to have another main event match with AJ Styles.
Yeah, and that match we were curious because it was still about almost 20 minutes before the show was about to end when this match went on. And you knew he wasn't probably, there's no way they were going to let him get a lot of offense in.
And he did not.
He did not. But the way it was handled with Dean Ambrose on the stick out there, constantly distracting AJ Styles on everything. Yeah. I mean, how they did it was perfect.
The fact that WWE had the foresight to go ahead and make a James Ellsworth t-shirt.
And as much as we dig creative and we went off on them earlier and stuff, then they come and pull out nuggets of just brilliance and genius. Because his shirt is legit on the WWEshop.com. You can go there and buy it. It was in the building. They were able to purchase these shirts.
And because you saw Dean Ambrose present the shirt to Ellsworth backstage early on in the show, and Ellsworth had that stupid look again.
Yep.
The hard blinks that he does, the fact that he has no chin, but during the match, that was one of the ways that Ambrose distracted AJ Styles was by grabbing the microphone and saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, tonight we have available the new James Ellsworth t-shirt. It's available on WWEshop.com for $24.99. You can also find them at the concession stands around the building." And they actually flashed the T-shirt up on the Titantron and everything. So
it was great. I mean, and speaking of the chin thing, one of the best counters I've ever seen out of a rear chin lock is the fact that he has no chin and he steps right out of it. I was like, did that just happen? He stands up, he's like, rubbing where his chin should be. I mean, it was perfect. I mean, it was great. I thought I laughed so hard. I was so entertained by that main event.
But then he threw the no chin music.
No chin music.
Which I thought it was so great that they actually called it that on air.
Exactly.
And not only that he threw it, not only that it was called no chin music, but the fact that AJ Styles bumped his ass off.
Oh, he sold that like crazy.
He made it look like he got absolutely obliterated.
And here was the beautiful thing is people thought that, oh my God, he's actually about to win.
He has a chance to win.
And then it was the response you would get if AJ was wrestling another big star like Ambrose or Cena. You know, those near falls. I mean, that's what it was. Again, that had to be so special for Ellsworth. Now, I will say this. James Ellsworth earned every dime that they're paying him because AJ Styles beat the living crap out of him. Those were still shots that were so solid.
The chops, the forearms, the kicks.
Oh.
But that was another funny thing that Ambrose said on the mic was, "Hey AJ, I mean, I know you look like a soccer mom. I didn't realize you kicked like one too."
Yeah, and that's what sent him over the edge and took him right into the finish, of course. And you know where he got disqualified. But that was great storytelling though. Storytelling is so, I love it when they tell great stories and it makes sense because that's why AJ lost. He just got carried away. He was so pissed off at Dean Ambrose for all the crap he'd been doing to him that he had had enough. He just couldn't stop beating on Ellsworth. He was going to take it all out on Ellsworth. The spot where AJ was throwing him out, then Dean was throwing him back in. You know, he doesn't deserve to be in here. He does deserve to be in there. Just, I can't believe I would have been throwing up.
Right, that's what I was waiting for. You know, as David Otunga points out, James Ellsworth's belly sticks out further than his chest. So, I mean, I was waiting for Ellsworth to get the spins and just start projectile vomiting.
If you haven't watched the match for some reason, you really should.
Do it. Do yourself a favor.
It was so good. You'll be entertained, and that's what we want.
If you like slapstick comedy, brutal hardcore hits, you know, I mean, this is the match to watch. The last two. Go back and watch the one from last week as well.
Yeah, it was great, and Ellsworth sold like crazy. I thought it was awesome. So it was awesome. I enjoyed it. I thought both shows were down this week from what they were. But at the end of the night,
still give the edge to SmackDown.
I give the edge to SmackDown too because I was entertained. You know, pretty much the entire show. There was a lot of good stuff in it. They did have a lot of wrestling. Again, it's where SmackDown's supposed to be the wrestling show, and we just didn't get a whole lot of that this week. But you know what? The main event, I loved it. I was entertained by it. So they just keep that stuff up, then we'll be going good. Next week we will be covering it's Hell in a Cell next weekend. Right. So we'll be doing our Hell in a Cell preview next week as well. Kind of excited about that. Should be interesting.
You got 3 Hell in a Cell matches, so
exactly.
You've got a lot of potential for some really cool
First ever women's Hell in a Cell match with Sasha and Charlotte.
Right, and you pretty much figure that Reigns and Rusev are going out of the cell the hard way.
Exactly, which ought to be awesome when that happens.
You know, you'll get how people spear opponent or Edge with spear opponents through the cell door and get out and climb up to the top. I'm already calling Roman Reigns does that spot.
There you go. Oh, and one more thing I will say, props to Rusev for his little spot that he did.
Oh, with the family?
Yeah, to me it went a little bit long, but still, the stuff he was going out there and saying.
This is Mama Rusev.
It was
Do not boo my mother!
Exactly. It was great. So
this is my dog. He is champion all across the world.
Everybody in his family is a champion of something. So
his grandma's a champion. His father's a champion. His brother's a champion.
It was great. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in, listening. Let us know what you think about it. Follow us on patreon.com/SportsClash. You can follow us on Facebook at Sports Clash Radio, Twitter, Sports Clash Rad. Comments down below. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with us? Disagree with us on SmackDown Raw? What was your favorite part? Did you hate the James Ellsworth thing? Are you a true fan now? Do you have the James Ellsworth t-shirts? I'm really thinking about it at this point. Probably not. If I get one, it's going to be the phenomenal one anyway. So there you go. But guys, we appreciate it. We'll catch you soon.